So I wanted to get to this slide, Jake. There are some really cool things that are on the horizon, right? I think that there's some really cool things. If we go back to adversarial simulation, somebody had mentioned, so instead of calling it an automated pen test, if we just called it an automated security test, would it be fine? Yeah, I have no problem with that, right? If you want to call your product adversarial emulation, if you want to say that you're going to do whatever you want to call it, that's great. But as soon as you start calling it something that involves manual and it involves people being involved and trying to learn about the environment, and you're kind of oversimplifying it, yeah, you're going to piss me off at that particular point, right?
Aren't you at that point intentionally confusing the consumer, though, right? I mean, that's really it, right? You're latching onto a word and you're darn near taking over the definition of that thing, and that's not right.
Yep, it isn't. It just isn't, right? So when you're looking at it, this should really be looked at as the evolution of vulnerability scan. Like all of these tools, I strongly believe, I don't know why Tenable didn't buy like an adversarial emulation tool. I have no idea why Rapid7 hasn't. Like literally Nessus should be scanning for vulnerabilities, doing post-exploitation and giving you a report. It should be not penetration testing, but it should be now the definition of a vulnerability assessment. But that's just it. Some really cool things on the horizon, penetration testing as a service. This is something Black Hills Information Security has been doing for a few months now. I talked to Dave Kennedy. Trust&Sec also does it. And I think Red Siege does it too. With this, by the way, love to Red Siege. I'm wearing their gear today, just like Jake's wearing BHIS gear. Once again, the good companies, we're all friends with each other. And when Jake succeeds, I'm happy. When I succeed, Jake's happy. When Tim Medine succeeds, we're all happy, right? So there's this stuff that's starting to come up. I think Dave called it unannounced testing, where you sign a contract for a year and the testing firm is continuously trying and failing at phishing, continuously trying and failing at password sprays, and doing it over a series of months, slowing it down, but constantly chipping away at that, gets rid of that moment in time assessment. And when new vulnerabilities come in and they jump on it. So this is something that we're starting to see in the industry as a whole. And after this webcast, after we get done, I'm going to give everyone a chance to run away and hide. And I'll talk more about that and answer people's questions on that as well. Develop longer term relationships with customers. Your automated scanner is not going to develop a long-term relationship with you.
And if it does, you have problems.
There's so many bad jokes. And if Paul was here, Paul Zadorian could help me with these jokes right now. Like Paul and Larry would be all over it. And we can start removing some of these weaknesses of the test. And really, if we're starting to do that as a service, it becomes collaborative over time. So I wanted to get to a couple of questions. Jake, can you hang around for a couple of questions that I got?
Definitely,
right
man. Yeah.
Ryan, do you want to try to pull up some questions on Discord? I don't have Discord up at the moment, but I'm going to throw a question here. And then Ryan, if you can pull a question from Discord, that'd be great. Anonymous attendee says, I agree with your perspective. There are a couple of questions. How do you evaluate whether a pen tester has the right capability? I think this one's easy, Jake. What are they doing to share in the community? Are they doing webcasts? Are they training people? Are they sharing new tools? Look for those firms that are sharing. How do you know the pen testers are not just running automated tools and producing the report? I don't know, Jake. What's your thought on that one?
That's an easy one for me, right? Every pen testing firm has a sanitizer. Every pen testing firm who's been around long enough that you want to evaluate them has a sanitized report that they can provide you. And if you look at that sanitized report, you, the consumer, hopefully, should be able to tell whether that's simply from an automated tool or whether that represents manual analysis. And one of the big things, again, you should be looking for there is remediation advice, right? Or at least help for contextualizing the impact, right?
Tyson asked, what is the proposed solution for the CISA issue? Honestly, if I was going to give CISA a grade, I would give them a good solid A. You look at where they came in and what they started doing, and like with the value that everyone's getting out of CISA, it's amazing. And I don't know if it's ever something they can do, but there needs to be a huge emphasis on how do we do the fundamentals. And CISA has released some things about the fundamentals that need to be done. But it's tough to sell the fundamentals. It really, really is tough to sell.
It's not sexy, man. We've been trying to do it for years, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, no joke. Of all the stuff that I've ever done, right, as far as contributing back to the community, the thing we did at Wild West Hackfest last year, the equilateral of exclusion risk, right, is probably the most meaningful thing, or one of the more meaningful things, as far as could create impact in the community. It's not sexy, right?
Nope.
And it's just not, right? Like, how do you how do you evaluate relative risk for an exclusion? That's fundamental stuff. And until we get collectively like that matters more than the latest sexy exploit, whatever that happens to be, then we're going to be stuck in the rinse, lather, repeat cycle.
Absolutely. Ryan, do we have any good questions out on Discord?
I got a couple. The first one was my biggest question is how to determine if my definition of a pen test is what the vendor also defines as a pen test when I am paying for it.
Jake, I'm going to let you take first crack on this one, and I'll jump in a second. Go ahead.
Man, this again for me is get that sanitized report, right? Because I think that's going to help you understand it. That's going to give you the ammo to prep the questions you want to talk to them about on that sales call. I'm looking for people that are talking about, when I ask them, like, how do you approach the pen test? I don't want to hear about a bunch of tools you're running. And if they give you a big list of tools, run away, right? I want to hear about methodology.
Yep.
And no, go ahead, man.
I'm also going to throw in an added one there.
Yeah.
They won't be a firm that forces you to adhere to their doctrine of what they think it is.
Yes.
A good pen testing firm is flexible enough to listen to you and identify, like, have a conversation. What is the greatest risk that you're concerned of? What keeps you awake at night? Where is your sensitive data? How do you want us to approach this? We want to use these techniques. Are these types of techniques okay? Because everybody says, we want you to come at us like a real threat actor. And it's like, great, I'm going to SIM clone your phone to intercept your two-factor authentic. And they're like, oh, no, not that. So there's always going to be limitations. And good firms have flexibility to establish rules of engagement scope that meet what the customer is actually looking for as well. How do you handle internal teams? I'll let Ryan do the next one. How do you handle internal teams who disagree with pen testing and do not find the value? Generally, I try not to work with those companies. Like if we get on the call with somebody like, we hate that we have to have a pen test and we're just calling you because we feel like we have to. It's like, here's a list of a whole bunch of other firms that you might want to talk to. And I want to be clear about why that's the case, right? We do that because they're miserable to work with. The contract is usually underscoped, underpriced, go over time, and it's not fun. I don't know. That's what I would do. But if you're internal in your company, I would really recommend sitting down and having brown bag sessions and talking about current threat actors and what's being done, and start with a question. Are we vulnerable to this? Play backdoors and breaches with your team online. Play.backdoorsandbreaches.com is free, and work through it on your team. Jake, do you have anything else to add on that?
I mean, look, you and I have both fired a number of clients over the years. Yes, that all lines up there. But if you're on an internal team, seriously, there's a lot of job opportunity out there. This is a cultural issue to the extent that you can try to evangelize. I love the backdoors and breaches idea. I love the, rip from the headlines. Will we be vulnerable to this? But listen, man, at the end of the day, if you're not making progress, give them 90 days to the outside. If you're not making progress on the cultural side internally, should start resume shop, man. Life's too short.
This sounds weird in spite of what's happened over the past couple of weeks with layoffs, which is a whole nother webcast.
Yes.
But seriously, if you have the skills and you have background and experience in information security, the world is your oyster. Like, I read another study, and I hate these studies because I don't believe them, but they're like, we're short 1.8 million information security professionals right now. I disagree with that number, but I think it does state that we are short good information security professionals. Do the best you can.
On the number, we can agree we're definitely short.
We're definitely understaffed.
Whether it's 1.8 million
might be a scooch much, right? I just have this vision that people are like, we need someone staring at every single rack, like in the IT crowd, like the goth guy. It's like, wait, the button's going to blink, blink, blink. Here it comes. Blink, blink, blink. There it goes again. Like, that's what they must think. Another question was, Todd had a good one. What are your thoughts on breach and attack solutions? Assuming they aren't marketed or adopted as replacement pen testing, I think then we're in a good place. I think that's what they are. And I think it's fine. And honestly, this bothers me because the people behind these firms, I know they know better. Like, I look at the pedigree of some of these people. They know better. And they've woke up one morning and they've decided to sell their soul and sell off their brothers and sisters in the industry to try to make a quick buck. And by the way, if I offended you with that, good. Hunt me down. We can talk. I've been pissing people off a lot more lately as I'm getting older. I'm quickly becoming jacked.
Can I grab that BAS question as well there? Look, man, I'm all about BAS, but I breach and attack simulation tools. But I also want to throw out there that if you're using them to replace a pen test, that's literally like it's like trying to hammer a nail with a snow shovel. That is the wrong damn tool for the job. If you're using these to do continuous control validation, congratulations, you've made a fantastic investment, because we are not doing regression testing on, like, when I update my agent, my EDR agent, I'm not going back and doing regression testing because I don't have the tooling. DAS can do that for you, right? But that's where the functionality, of the tool effectively ends.
But we can work together on that, right? Like, I'll use web app, like automated tools. We use them all the time. We love it as a pen testing firm for a web app security assessment. When we go in and we're like, we just ran burp, we did an automated test with this tool. These are the results. We're giving them to you. See the vulnerabilities here. Don't report on those vulnerabilities. We want you to find other things. We're just like, we love you. Thank God.
You just freed up 20% of my testing scope so I can go focus on the hard stuff. Bingo.
And a lot of these adversarial simulation tools, if I can go in and have a tester never find group policy preference file vulnerabilities again, awesome. Like, if we go into a test and nothing's Kerberoastable, oh my God, that's great. We love that, because good testing firms, they don't define themselves by the automated scans. They want to do this other stuff. So we can work together, right? There's absolutely a market for this. But what happens is a lot of the firms get greedy. They're like, if we start selling it as an automated pen test, well, we're going to make a lot of money. You're burning yourself out, and you just got to stop at some point. So Ryan, do we got any other questions?
Yeah, I'm going to paraphrase this one a little bit, but Ninja Pixie wants to know how to make security compliance sexy.
No? Okay. Well, I don't know. I mean, it's just difficult, man. I mean, the reality is, I think the reality is that security compliance is probably not going to be sexy. And I think that we have to start communicating the risks. And I mean, and also just functionally note that not every piece of security is going to be like a Michael Bay moment, right? With explosions going off around and whatnot. But that's some of the most important stuff in security. And maybe that's it, is less reframing it around it's going to be sexy, and maybe reframing around it doesn't have to be sexy to be important or cool.
I'm gonna throw this out there real quick. So about it being sexy, I don't know if you're aware, but there's people out there that have feet fetish. Like, they love feet. They just think that that's the sexiest thing ever. There's people out there that think
go with the librarian angle.
Librarians, right? Like librarians. They think librarians are sexy, or they think Klingons and Star Trek is sexy. So what I recommend is, one, let your freak flag fly. Whatever. That's great. But if you want to make compliance sexy, go find someone who thinks compliance is sexy. Hire them and let them do their job. Don't take somebody who's technical and force them into the role, because there are people out there that love compliance. Jake and I have seen these people. They're these rare unicorns, and they love compliance. I don't know why, but they do. And you should find that unicorn, and you should take care of that unicorn and let them do their job. That's what I'm going to take. To each their own on that. All right. Any last question, Ryan? I'm going to kick it over to you.
I got no more from Discord, but we got some on Zoom. How can you learn these skills? That sounds like a good last question.
Oh God, Jake, is it too soon? It's too soon. It's too soon. I'm going to recommend, let's do motherhood and apple pie. I'm going to recommend you find a cyber range and you start working through the cyber range. You go to Try Hack Me, you go to Hack the Box. We have ACE-T. You can get involved in that. Just find a cyber range out there and sink in and learn these skills. And so many of these challenges are solved on YouTube by people like John Hammond, IPSEC. They've solved these challenges. They do walkthroughs. Go and sit through those walkthroughs and redo it. Get your hands on the keyboard. Don't just watch it on Twitch. Do it. And I'm also going to throw out Ed SCOTUS and the holiday hack challenges. The holiday hack challenges are available. They're awesome. They're solved. And you can go through them. And I recommend you do that. You don't have to spend like tens of thousands of dollars to get trained. You can train yourself. We also have pay what you can training at Anti-Siphon. Check that out.
Okay, I'll go ahead. I was going to say, man, if you're not going to plug Anti-Siphon, I will.
Okay.
And then separately, I cannot speak highly enough for Wild West Hack and Fest. Look, everything John's talking about is great from the technical side. 100% get on a cyber range. That's all valuable. But man, at the end of the day, when you are banging your head against something, John, I know I've done this to you a number of times over the years, and vice versa. Man, it's the phone a friend, right? And the way you build those networks is, I hate to say it. Yes, events like this. Yes, Discord, right? Wild West Hack and Fest, man. It is hands down it is the best conference that I go to every year because of what this man's made it. It's the community, right? I'm not even there for the talks. I'll give a talk every year.
You're there for the mechanical bull. I know.
Oh, well, that too. But I seriously really am there for the community. And I mean, even this year, right, still met brand new people and folks that I have, folks that I've no joke reached out to since and have reached out to me since. And listen, folks, anybody here, and I think John will back me up on this, right, in the community who's like, man, look at how awesome I am. We all stand on the shoulders of giants, and
yes.
daily, I'm reaching out to somebody for a hand here or a hand there.
And I'm kind of springboard off of that. We were talking about like DEF CON and Black Hat and things like that. A lot of times if you're at a conference and you see somebody like Jake, myself, Kennedy, anybody, it's hard. Like that those larger conferences, it's exhausting because you run into so many people that you know, so many people that you've met, so many people that you taught. And it's really, really hard to have like a meaningful conversation with, I hate to say it, but what the hell, an InfoSec luminary. And it's cool. Like I think ShmooCon at 2000 is right at that limit, right? It's at that limit and it's never going to get above that. And Bruce and Heidi have done an amazing job at that. Wild West Hacking Fest is never going to get above 1,000. And I think that these smaller conferences are great opportunities to actually talk to somebody that hasn't been bombarded by 4,000 text messages and telling people, you need to come to this bar and getting invited to go to like crazy parties and things like that. It's hard going to very large conferences and meeting people and meeting speakers. In the smaller conferences, and like I said, ShmooCon I think is the limit. 2,000, that's it, right? Once you start getting above that, it's too much. So,
yeah.
All right,
man, you've done a fantastic job there, Wild West Hack Fest. Mad prop. My only complaint is it's just hella difficult to get to Deadwood, right?
But, I know,
but that keeps it small, man.
Yeah, we've got to keep it small. We've talked about moving it down to Denver. But the problem with Denver is all of a sudden we start getting bigger and we're afraid of losing the fun. And yeah, it's tough to get here, but we think it's worth it, man.
I have a lot more problems in Denver than just that, but rock on.
Yeah,
yes.
True.
Yes.
So, all right, everybody. So here's what's going to happen. We're going to give everyone an opportunity to leave, and I'm going to talk a little bit about what BHIS is doing. No slides, but what BHIS is doing for continuous pen testing and kind of our approach with our customers and some of the things that we're working on. But I'm going to give everyone an opportunity to get the hell out of here. We did the webcast, we did the stuff, we talked about it. If you don't want like me talking about BHIS and what we're doing in pen testing, leave, get out of here. And we're trying to give you that opportunity. I hate it whenever Jake and I do webcasts with other vendors and they put the vendor right up front, like in the first 15 minutes. And then Jake and I have to sit there and listen to somebody talk about how their product is best of breed. And it's like my soul. I sold my soul for this and I'm getting paid like $500 to get my soul sold for this. Like, it's just really, really, really nerve wracking. And I know it's hard on you all. So get out of here. Go. If you don't want to hear about what we're doing on pen testing and how we're trying to stand this up, just get the hell out of here. And I will see you at another webcast at some point in the near future. So some people were talking about CactusCon. I will be at CactusCon next week. Jake, are you coming out to CactusCon?
No, I would love to. I think I'll catch a couple of the talks live, but man, I would love to.
Yeah, it's too much.
Is it next week?
It's next weekend. Like
this
it's
coming
literally
weekend?
Coming up this weekend. Yeah. So
no, I definitely won't be there. I just did ShmooCon and that was a whirlwind. I need rest, man. I'm getting old.
Well, and yeah, I mean, I remember we would sit around and we'd be like, by the way, you can totally leave. I'm going to do the marketing thing here in a bit. We're just
once you start marketing, I'm out.
Get out of here.
But yeah.
But I remember there was a time where you and I had both done like back to back conferences, and we were just going into Vegas. And you remember they called us down for 2 days of meetings before the conference started.
Oh my God.
We both had to teach 2 days after that. Dude, I look back at that. I don't know how we survived. Like when I saw you at Black Hat that one time, like you look really fantastic now, but dude, we were rough, man. Like it was horrific. I don't know how we made it through, honestly.
True story here. And John obviously knows this, he was there, but, what John's mentioning here is I put on a ton of weight, right? Like, I mean, more than 30 pounds, heavier than I am now. And more than 40 pounds heavier than I am now. But, John sees me, and it's not just the weight, right? Like, I mean, I look
It was,
bad.
dude, like your complexion and just everything. And not only you're like shaky,
Yep.
So,
well, that was during the time too, when I had that big bald spot,
yes,
right? That weird fungus that
right.
I picked up in Bangladesh, right?
Yeah.
I think it was Bangladesh, but anyway, so this is the trainer check-in line at Black Hat, right? This is free, even like attendees showing up. It's the trainers themselves checking in. And John walks up to me and, does the whole bro hug thing. And he's like, man, Jake, you look like shit. And just without dropping a beat. And man, he was right. I had been grinding way too hard for way too long. And that's seriously, if I can credit something with turning my health around, that's it. That moment.
Well, but I think that we're good enough friends that if you said that and like, well, you're an asshole. It's like, no, I need to make a change in my life. COVID, I hate to say it, COVID was like the best thing that happened to me, right? I got to stay with my family for a year. I didn't get to travel. And then now whenever I travel, like Cactus Con is down right near where my brother lives. So I'm using it as an opportunity to see family.
Yeah.
So it's just really hard. And I've got like 5 conference speaking invites right now, and I've got to go through them. And I know you get them all the time, but it's tough. It isn't that we don't like the con. It isn't like we don't like going to certain cities, but I don't know, man. Do you think about how much we've screwed over our children and our significant others over the years? And that hurts. Like that hurts bad. I had that when I retired from SANS and I announced it. I was in Switzerland. I was in Zurich. And I had a student that wrote a script and he pulled down every live class that I had taught. And he said, in the past 5 years, you've been away from your family for 2 years of that.
Yeah. Yep.
And that hit me. That hit me hard. That hit me really, really hard. So
I'm a lifetime titanium elite at Marriott, right? Like,
yeah.
I mean, yeah. So,
and I remember whenever I made 1K a long time ago, pre-COVID, I remember like the pilot coming out, or the co-pilot, one of the pilots came out and gave me a card. And it was so weird the way he said, he's like, I want to let you know that you're officially 1K at this point. And he looked at me, and I swear to God, in his eyes, it was just like, I am so sorry for you.
Yeah.
Like this is not a good thing.
Right.
It's not something to be proud of. Right.
Not at all.
But it's always hard. You listen to new people that are coming up and they're always like, how can I be you? And it's like, you don't want to be me.
You don't want to.
You don't want to be me. So, all right, Jake, we'll get out of here. I'm going to talk about continuous pen testing. Thank you so much for joining.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me, man.
You bet. All right. So I just wanted to take a few minutes. BHIS just doesn't do comics. We don't just do free trading. We don't just do bears attacking each other at conferences. We don't just do card games. We actually do network penetration testing. And I would be honored if you would think of Black Hills Information Security whenever it comes up for a pen test, because, we just like to meet more people and do more work. And one of the things that we've come up with, we talked about it briefly, is the idea of pen testing as a service. We actually call it the anti-SOC, because you have a security operations center, and we like to call it the anti-security operations center, where you literally have our testers, a lot of the people you've seen on webcasts and on the news, like Corey and Ralph and Steve and Mike and all these people that are working to constantly break into your organization, doing low and slow password sprays, trying and failing at multiple spear phishing attacks. As new techniques are discovered by the BHIS team and the community at large, we can use these vulnerabilities against your organization to let you know about those vulnerabilities right away. And that is really what we want to do. We really want to have a continuous relationship, like a security operations center, like we have with our security operations center at BHIS. We really want to develop those long-term relationships with customers where we're continuously doing this. Now, We treat it like a SOC, right? There's tickets that are created for the things that we do. So you can log into Jira and you can see what we're doing and what are the things we tried and did they work? Did they fail? If we are successful, we can set up rules of engagement on how we handle that. We have some customers that want us to dwell and see how long it takes for us to be detected. We have other customers that want us to let them know immediately once we got in. And a lot of this kind of goes back to the nation state attacker stuff. When a nation state tries to do attacking, it's not like it is in the movies all the time, but it's not like it is in the movies where like, we're going to break into that company. They usually identify multiple different companies that they're trying to break into at the exact same time. And they set up low and slow campaigns for password spraying, low and slow campaigns for spear phishing, low and slow campaigns for SIM cloning and doing those types of things. And they work through those organizations over time. And that's what we truly want to bring to our customers as we're doing this. So if you're interested in a standard pen test or IR or any of that, I would be honored if you would consider us. If you're a mature organization and you're moving beyond like traditional pen testing and you want to try something that's continuous and you're working with a team that's constantly trying to find vulnerabilities, pick up the phone and call us. And as I said, I don't feel right just doing marketing. It doesn't feel good. There are other great firms out there that also do this. Like I said, I talked to Dave Kennedy this morning and they call it, I think it's no announcement or non-announced pen testing, but they have something very similar at TrustedSec. Red Siege also has some as well. So please be looking into this as an evolution for your team moving forward. And we would be honored if you would consider us as well. So that's all I have, by the way, for that. If you have any questions, you can type them into Zoom. You can type them into Discord. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have. Ryan, I don't know if you're watching the Discord questions, but I'll watch on Zoom if you watch on Discord as well.
Yeah, I'm looking.
Do you have a link to the service brochure? Do you provide the service in UK and the United States? Yes, we provide it in the United States and in the United Kingdom. Anonymous attendee, send us an email to consulting@blackhillsinfosec or to me, John, JOHN @blackhillsinfosec. And I'll get you the service information, kind of the write-up of what it is. But we have a slide deck and we actually show people a sample Jira instance that kind of shows how we deal with tickets. It's not the traditional like generating a report constantly. We're literally treating it as an issue and a point in time issue that needs to be resolved and tracked as well. So that is hopefully that answers anonymous attendees' question. Ryan, do you have any more questions? Over there, they're asking about it.
I just got one. What does reporting look like for PTAAS roll-ups every quarter?
Yep. So it depends on every customer. Some of our customers want us to provide a full report that's like a roll-up report that's once a quarter. And that can be something as simple as a PowerPoint presentation of just kind of an overview of what was done. Other customers require a more in-depth report. And in those particular situations, we provide a report that's in compliance with like PCI. It's not the full pen test report that BHIS does that our customers know and love, where we document in painful detail the methodology of everything that we did. It is a findings-based report, and we basically have the backup evidence associated with that report as well. So it's more in line with what you would see with a standard company's pen test report. But you take that, you couple it with Jira and the tickets and the tracking and everything, and we can generate reports that are in line with what you'd expect for things like PCI or any of your auditors whenever they want those reports for findings only reports. So we do document those. And once again, it's kind of up to the customer. I think being flexible is really probably the most important thing that's led BHIS being successful. We don't enforce these rigid, hardcore concepts of how we think work should be done. We try to treat it as collaborative as we possibly can. Any questions on your side?
Yeah, is that sold like it's like a follow-up question. Is that sold as like a bucket of so many hours that gets put to the test or how is that done?
We are actually tracking it as a bucket of hours at Black Hills Information Security. But usually what we're doing is I want you to think of it as like the Model T analogy, right? The way a lot of pen testing is being done today is you're going through and you're bypassing EDR, you're bypassing things like email filters for customer A, and then you restart, you do it for customer B, and then you restart and you do it for customer C. So whenever the testers are working on these engagements, they're actually working in parallel across all of our different continuous pen testing customers. So whenever we find a bypass technique that works, we can utilize that simultaneously across all of the different customers. We also have our traditional pen testing services that are feeding the new techniques that our pen testers, I think we're at like 35 pen testers now, as they're coming up with different techniques and they're feeding that in to this service as well. So yeah, we're absolutely tracking the hours, but you can't think of it as the idea of a pen testers just focus on your company. You're literally getting the BHIS team is constantly coming up with new techniques, working with new techniques that hit on the Twitterverse or the dark web or whatever Slack channel it is that people are working on at that time, and utilizing those techniques and alerting our customers. Once again, we're trying to get away from that point in time security assessment and make it so it's something that's happening continuously. So instead of recreating the Model T every time, we're basically treating it as an assembly line, and we're working through these vulnerabilities across multiple customers simultaneously. So hopefully that answers that question. Did you get another one?
From a security perspective, what are we not considering? Are there any threat vectors that are gaining popularity or novel techniques that we should be aware of?
Absolutely. This is kind of going on to like the webcast, but I think it's a great question. It needs to be answered. The thing that we're not doing and we're not dealing with is adware, specifically malvertisements. If you look at how nation states are actually attacking you today, like if you're looking at like Israel, Russia to a lesser extent, the United States techniques and capabilities, they're actually utilizing and integrating with ad services so they can deliver malware directly to mobile devices and to endpoints. And the problem with that is twofold. One is penetration testers traditionally were not allowed to go after people's mobile devices, right? We just can't attack that because that's somebody's personal device. The other thing is a lot of that is a closed ecosystem. So there's not a lot of like general purpose computing capabilities in those devices that make standard reverse engineering and integration as simple as it is with like Windows or Linux or OS X. So that is a huge blind spot that many organizations are in fact actually missing. And trying to test that is incredibly difficult to do. It is a very, very difficult capability to try to go through and say, well, we're going to test how somebody would maliciously deploy malvertisements to an organization, right? So to get around that, a couple of things. It's one of the reasons why we created AC Hunter. And by the way, AC Hunter, just like for those of you that like, wow, we got 235 people on Zoom. I don't know how many we have on YouTube, but for those of you that stuck around, we're coming out with a community edition of AC Hunter. That is a fully functional version of AC Hunter with some integrations in the enterprise level that are going to be removed. So you can quickly and very, very cost effective integrate AC Hunter. And AC Hunter can actually help you detect those types of attacks and identifying the beaconing and the command and control of them as well. And once again, that's tough from a pen testing perspective. Anonymous attendee asked, how does an ongoing pen test compare to a bug bounty type program? One of the things that you notice if you're in a bug bounty type program is a lot of the bug bounty researchers, they'll find a specific technique and they'll reuse it across the bug bounty program, right? And that's absolutely true on how that works. And I think that that's actually kind of cool, right? But when you're looking at it as a bug bounty hunter, a bug hunter, you only put in so much time actually trying to dig and break into an organization. So there's a number of things that tend to be off the table for many of the bug bounty programs that are out there. Not all of them, by the way, but many of them. Like things like low and slow password sprays or trying to do spear phishing. Those are a lot of things that are generally not allowed in traditional bug bounty programs for many of them. But those are the types of things that an adversary would be doing. And those are the types of things that we would be doing as well. Will a community AC Hunter have a non-commercial restriction? No, you can use it in your company. I don't care. Literally, we just want people to start doing this stuff as much as they possibly can and start understanding. Now, if you want integration, you want working with LDAP, you want it to integrate with your SIM, you want it to generate tickets, you want overall scoring. Then you're going to want to look at the commercial one of that as well. And we're going to be raising our price for AC Hunter at that point because we've realized the big bulk of what we do is actually customer service and helping people get AC Hunter up and running as well. What do I think the security community needs today? More training, right? Like right now, I think that we're living in the golden age of free training, and I still don't think it's enough. Not just free training, but low cost training, because really every single one of life's problems can be solved through education. And we really need to be focusing on that as much as we possibly can as well. Will red teaming eventually replace pen testing? I don't think so. I don't think that you're going to see a lot of compliance standards start defining what a red team is. It would be nice if they did, but I think that they're really afraid to step into those waters because it's very, very riddled with fines. So they're just going to keep it as general as they possibly can as well. Any insight or concerns about LastPass as a password manager now in the recent events? I think it's difficult, right? Like, I think it's easy to say, stop using LastPass. You should just stop using LastPass. That's an easy thing to say. And really, it makes you come across kind of as an a-hole security person when you're talking to enterprises that use it. Because like, if you're looking at an enterprise, they'll have thousands of sites, or they'll have thousands of users or hundreds of users that are all using LastPass, and they're sharing all that information. And to try to just up and switch is not really easy. For an individual, it absolutely is. But I think it's a lot more difficult at the enterprise scale. But I do think that organizations need to look into alternatives to try to figure out how they would actually work as well. Any plan to use AI tools like ChatGTP? Do you all want to see something cool? Ryan, should we give him a preview of the next webcast that we're going to do?
Sure.
Yeah, I'm sitting here doing.
Unshared your screen.
This just goes, huh? I got to bring up
your screen.
I'll share my screen here in just a second. All right. So what I've been working on is this. This is a project that I've been working on that went through and it scraped a bunch of security terms from a website, right? So it scrapes a bunch of terms from a website that were security terms. It created a word list right here of a bunch of security tools and stuff like that. There's about 200 of them. And then I used ChatGPT to go through and automatically, got this one, hold on. Let me go into test 4. Automatically go through and it generated an individual text file answering what every single one of these tools were, and it loaded that text file into this directory. So all of these just basically came up. And then this week, all I need to do is upload it into my Wikipedia, securipedia.org. And I literally created an information security wiki using ChatGPT. So I'll be releasing that next week. So that'll be the webcast that I'm going to do in this particular session. So yes, there you go. How much should one request a budget for their first good pen test following their other pen test? Usually, if you're looking at a pen test, it has to do with time. And you're looking between $10,000 to $15,000 for a week. So if somebody says, I can do a week's worth of testing, and then immediately they come back and they say, and we're going to charge you $2,000, that's bad. If they come by and they're like, we're going to charge you $40,000 for a week's worth of work, that's bad too. So right now, the industry rate is about $10,000 to $15,000. I have seen some firms that are higher than that, but that's generally what you're getting whenever you're looking at the time frame of it. And as far as our continuous pen testing, we're looking at the cost of a continuous pen test is about 25% more than a traditional pen test. And we're really trying to do it with customers that are more mature in their overall security architecture. And they've been tested a number of times. We want to work with customers that are looking for kind of that next step. So moving beyond red team, right? We're trying to move, and we call it like I said, we call it the anti-SOC or a black team. Ryan, any more questions in Discord?
The most recent one I see is what emerging tech is coming in the next 5 years that might have a big impact on pen testing.
Emerging tech is going to have a big impact on pen testing. I believe that you're going to start seeing unified tools for scanning and exploitation of cloud technologies, right? So when you're looking at like right now, there's a bunch of ad hoc tools for like Git. There's ad hoc tools for Azure. There's ad hoc tools for Amazon. And I think that what you're going to see inevitably over the next 5 years is you're going to see a Nessus for cloud. And I know Nessus would say we're Nessus for cloud, but you're going to see like a Metasploit for cloud, where it literally has modules specifically for cloud exploitation and cloud enumeration. And once again, Metasploit has stuff like that, right? But right now, there's so many ad hoc tools that are being used all over the place that I believe that we're going to see a unified framework. In short, somewhere out there right now is a young, aspiring cloud HD Moore. The kid is brilliant, and he's going to be a multimillionaire. And all he has to do is create a Metasploit style framework for cloud recon and exploitation. And totally Metasploit could do this, right? And to be honest, they do have modules, but I think that that's what you're going to see. And then I also think that you're going to see a lot more cloud-based security testing tools in the commercial space as well. You're starting to see them. A lot of them I think are garbage. They spend a lot of time just spending a lot of time like just trying to do like whatever the latest headline is. That's what they scan for. So honestly, a lot of the like the non-commercial open source tools we're finding be much more effective at Black Hills information security as well. So that's what I think if we're looking at tools. All right. One more question if you've got it here.
I do, and this is probably a good one to end on. How do you differentiate? That was a hard word, and I said it, so I'm proud of myself. It is a hard word. How do you no, I can't say it again. But how do you decide between, or how does a client decide between a traditional pen test or PenTest as a service? Why would you choose one over the other? That's
a great question. If you've never had anything done before, do a vulnerability assessment. If you've had a vulnerability assessment and you've addressed the vulnerabilities and you've got a vulnerability management program, move into a penetration test, or compliance requires that you can do that. A pen test can absolutely incorporate a vulnerability scan, right? And even automation, like the automation tools that are out there, great, use them, right? That's awesome. Use whatever tools are at your disposal, but don't make it just the tools, okay? The next evolution of that is to move into a red team, right? That's where they're coming in unannounced. It's more or less time box and you're doing this attack. If you're a mature organization and you've had red teams, unannounced tests, and you've kind of been doing this for a number of years and you're really comfortable with your overall attack surface, then it's time to start moving into like we call anti-SOC or an unannounced pen test from Trusted Sec, or a black team assessment, right? Or pen testing as a service where it's something that's happening continuously. So I look at it as like a maturity scale, and that's kind of moving up to the point where you do want targeted adversaries that are constantly trying to break into your organization. And once again, if you're interested, shoot us an email at consulting@blackhillsinfosec, or just shoot me an email, john@blackhillsinfosec.com. With that, Ryan,
sweet.
It was a hell of a webcast. Kind of a new format though, dude. It seemed to went well, like the Zoom, and I don't know, do we have people on the YouTubes at all?
Yeah, well, we had either 500 to 600 people, depending on who's watching in both places or not. But it was like about 100 on YouTube, and then we had like
I think we topped out at 500 here on this. Yeah. Not bad for a webcast that we threw together at the last moment today. So
very last moment.
Yeah, thank you for all the heart emojis and everything. We appreciate it, and we can't wait to see you next week. Next week it's going to be put together a little bit better, but you need to come. Let other people know. We're going to be talking about how we can use AI and security for the purposes of good. And actually, I'll give you my AI project, short of my API key. I'll share that out with you all. So take care, everybody.